All right, hello listeners. It's been a while since I've been able to actually do a podcast. This has been a busy semester, but we do have a special one here. I was teaching a modern China class, History 375, and I had 3 non-history majors who were in the class and did very well, and were just a pleasure to have in the class, and I wanted to bring them here to kind of have some reflections on our course. So the first of our first person I'd like to introduce themselves, Carrie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Carrie Close. I'm a senior psychology major here at Lander University. I have a minor in English and a concentration in Asian studies. So part of it with that is I try to focus a little bit more with Korea, but I thought that this class would be a really good opportunity to kind of delve more into China in the hopes that it would help broaden my horizons, but also improve how I can go into my graduate degree. So.
We have a concentration in Asian studies?
I made it up. Well, I didn't make it up. So the agreement with me and some of my advisors and some of the higher-ups in the psychology department, we had agreed that since a minor usually takes 6 classes.
Right.
Right. So for me to do a concentration, as long as I do 3 classes, if I say it, they agree with me, we put it on my degree, and we go with it.
I want to talk to them because that would be awesome to add that, because we have there's quite a few people who take 3 Asian history courses with me, and I'm sure that we have a few other courses at Lander that would maybe count.
Right. So mine were Asian philosophy,
yeah,
modern Korea, modern China.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'll have to follow up with you later, Carrie, but that's awesome.
Will do.
And what? Oh, I'm sorry, you did answer the question. Okay, my apologies. So Tianyu, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes.
And why you took this class?
Okay. I come from China, and my name is Tianyu Yan. Because I'm just as an exchange student from here, and my major is marketing. But I also choose this modern China because I want to know some different ideas from Westerners. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, in China, our history class is written by the Chinese author, right. So maybe sometimes it's not very objective. Yeah, so I want to know some perspective from Westerners.
Right. Oh, excellent. Yeah, and I'm so glad you took it, because I've taught the class 3 times here at Lander, and I've never had a Chinese person take the class. Really? And so I was always, Dr. Chun would sometimes sit in. But she never, formally took the class. So I'm excited to kind of hear what you think about it, because I know, like when I teach Korea, I would sometimes have like 4 or 5. I think I had like 5 Koreans.
You had 8.
I had 8.
Whenever we started, there were about 8 of them, and then 3 dropped out, and it was.
Yeah.
Well, because they were like, oh, this is in English.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Because it was me. It was Hana, Yusong, Yujong, and Goen.
Yep. They're the ones that all stuck it out.
Yeah.
And then Jungjo, who wasn't taking the class, he just would sit with us.
Jungjo?
And that
Name
was
is
fun.
Jungjo?
Jungchoi.
I was like misunderstanding like Jungjo the king in
Joseon
Dynasty.
It'd be great if Jungjo was there.
That'd be cool.
I'd love to talk to him. Excellent. So, deal. And Dayee, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from Korea. My name is Dayee Kim, and my major is, I have double major and 1 minor. The first one is international trade. The second major is business department, and the minor is economics. So I'm a kind of like business person.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why I took this class is because I wanted to take Dr. Rosh's class, because I know him like before this semester, and I've read an article about him that like Lander Journal, he was elected as like the most loved professor. Is it right?
He was distinguished professor.
Distinguished.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to take the class, and also I was worried. I was like very curious about like Chinese and China, because even if it's like close from Korea, but I don't know about them well, unlike like Ming Dynasty, Qing Dynasty, and Won Dynasty, which is related with like Korea and Joseon Dynasty, which is like Korean history. But I don't know about like Cultural Revolution and Tiananmen Square democratic the protesters, even if I have heard them. So I just wanted to know about them, and also I was curious about why they are so powerful. Like they are one of the G2 countries, but Korea is like G20. So
Right.
I was worried. I was wondering. Yeah.
Right. Oh, excellent, excellent. So, the next question I wanted to ask you also, starting with Carrie again. So, what was the most interesting thing you learned in
Excellent.
class?
Cool. So we talked about this outside because I wanted to get the name right.
Okay, excellent.
What was his name? Not that one. Why?
Yongzhen.
Okay, you have to say it loudly. Project the name.
Yongzhen.
That.
Okay,
that emperor.
yeah. Who I pronounce Yongjung. Yongjung, but you got it right.
I refuse to butcher that. I feel really bad. I feel really bad with a lot of the names because I had an English pronunciation to start with, and then it turned into a weird Korean one, and now I'm just butchering it, and it makes me hurt. So I stopped pronouncing names. I'm done. But so with him, whenever he had presented himself to Tibet as a Buddhist, right? So with China initially being Confucian, the way he was able to change the way in which he was representing himself,
Right.
in a sense, and kind of, I think of it strangely as like he's like going undercover,
Right.
right, and he's going in, and this idea of adaptation, and it how that changes perspectives, that was just really neat to me, and the fact that this emperor was just so interested in getting Tibet to be part of China that he's like, oh yeah, all right, sure, we'll bend the rules here a little bit. Let me paint myself as a Buddhist. Let's do this. Let us represent this.
Well, that's cool. And one thing, and unfortunately, this is a question I may, if we have time, I'll ask. There's a lot of things I have to leave out. And one thing, I mean, what you said is, I think, 100% correct. What I would add to it, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tianyu, he was very sincere in his respect for Tibetan Buddhism. Like in Beijing, he had some Tibetan-style Buddhist temples built, which is, of course, different from the Mahayana Buddhism that usually Chinese follow. And he had, I think, some very important lamas as advisors. Like he was really very interested in the religion, which is very similar, I think, to traditional Manchu religion. Because it's confusing because we call it Tibetan Buddhism, but Tibetan Buddhism is also practiced by Mongols. So it gets, and also it's very similar to what the Manchu practice. So, but he is, like you said, he's bending the rules a bit because Buddhism was not so big among government circles in the Han at that time. So, cool. Well, excellent.
Cool.
No, I love the imagery too. So we just think, well, Tianyu, how about yourself? What was the most interesting? I mean, I think you knew pretty much everything we talked about, but maybe.
But for me, the most interesting thing is the Tiananmen Square movement because as a Chinese, when we also study modern China in our high school, but when we finish the Great Leap Forward, we will study so many things. It's positive things like the development.
Sure.
Yeah, and Deng Xiaoping do many policy to make China become great. But like Tiananmen Square, those kind of negative things we have never learned before, and now maybe I need to try to understand the China in a new way because I gradually understand why the China government try to control our mass media very strictly.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that was, and honestly, I have to say, I've always struggled with how to teach Tiananmen because it's such a complex event, and it's hard to read, and as we talked about, I think I love that PBS series, but I do think that there are some serious problems with the series, so it will be interesting to see what you find as you study more. But if you're interested, there's another documentary available on YouTube called, I think it's called Tiananmen Gate of Heavenly Peace. So it's just the Tiananmen and then the translation. And that's an older documentary, which in some ways I think does a better job because it's careful to put it in to raise the economic issue. Because I think the modern ones, more contemporary, don't raise the economic issue. But excellent. All right, Dayee. So what was the most interesting thing for you?
Yeah, of course, I was interested in like Tiananmen Square thing and also like the Cultural Revolution events, and also like beside that, I was like interested in like Communist Party because you know everyone noticed that my country is separated into two parts, which is North Korea and South Korea. North Korea is very like poor, and also they can't live well, unlike they're also the same communist country. So I could learn that like China opened their door,
Right.
and also special economic zones, like they opened the door to the rest of the world, and they
Right.
developed the economic things, even if the distribution was not well done. So I hope like North Korea can get a like peace treaty or peaceful conversation
Right,
with the
right.
rest of the world.
No, I certainly hope so. Though I think it's interesting because North Koreans, they usually talk about Sahuejui, not Kongsanjui. Right,
Yeah.
so it sounds, Tianyu knows what I'm talking about.
Sometimes.
It sounds similar enough. But I say that usually North Koreans say, they don't talk about themselves as communists, they say socialists. And they actually remove the word communist from their constitution. So very different from China, which
Yeah.
clearly in the constitution says communist, but North Korea, they got rid of it. I would actually argue North Korea is more of a fascist country.
Yeah.
I don't think it's communist at all, it's fascist. I would argue. So, but excellent. So how then, I had, some other thing came up to my mind, so we'll come back to that one. So here's because this will help me also as I teach the class again. So did you have a favorite reading? Was there a reading that you liked?
The comic made by
Oh,
Dayee?
Xiaoli?
yeah.
Do I have that
I
here?
love that.
hope you
Here
do.
we are.
Of course you do.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
like easy to read and also I love
Easy
the
to
comic.
But it's very thick. That's the reason I
Yeah,
didn't assign the
it
whole
is.
thing. But it's very good. I mean, so maybe I should introduce more of Zhao Li.
Yeah.
Then I should get more of him in there. What did you think of it, Carrie?
Oh goodness.
Or can we say anything else other than easy to read?
Yeah.
Like
So as far as like explanations go, so the way in which Xiaoli kind of explains, or he doesn't really explain, well he does, but through a comic, right? So this makes it to where we can understand the things that are deeper than just what people say. Reading an essay or reading some article someone wrote doesn't. It's a little more intense than looking at art. So in a sense, whenever Zhao Li made this, it seems that he made it to where you could understand the underlying points of it without having to spell it out in words.
right, yeah.
Right. So through an image is coming to mind. One of the kids, he had a badge actually pinned into his skin.
Oh.
Yeah,
for-
exactly,
for
to
a map.
show his
Right. And so that hits harder than any. You can't convey that with a word.
right, yeah.
And just how intense that part of the Cultural Revolution was. It seems to be better conveyed through picture than through word.
Right,
I think that's one of the very helpful parts of this is understanding the depth.
Yeah.
Of
And
the
right, yeah.
also, I'm not an English native speaker, so it's better to understand with the pictures.
Yeah, no, I understand. Well, and that's one reason why I recorded the lectures and things like that was
Yeah.
that I know I've taken classes in Korea, so I understand your situation. Right, it's
Yeah.
not easy to take a class in a foreign language.
Yeah, I
Okay,
sometimes
excellent.
reviewed video recording from YouTube or like podcasts to like write down my notes again and
Okay,
also
excellent.
understand better.
Oh, very good, very good. So, any other readings that were in addition to this one, or
I'm glad you're this reading.
if this is
There
it, that's
were
fine.
so many.
I'm a historian.
Oh God. There were just.
You can't remember the name?
I can't remember a name for most of them. They just.
That's fine.
They muddle together.
Yeah,
But.
That's usually the experience I give students. It's all kind of muddled together.
Okay. Well, in a sense, it all kind of flows together as well, though. So.
Right, yeah.
Like I can't remember any of the names for them. So a lot
What
of
was
the
the content?
a lot of the other like pictorials. So there was the one.
Well, the new marriage law.
That one.
The
I like that one.
family.
The family, and then there was the one with girl and guy. They were gonna try to get married, but the girl
That's-
ended up getting married off. Is that
That's family.
that's family?
Yeah, she kills herself.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that's family.
Excellent. So That one, they all get lumped together. I really like that one because it did similar to what he did here, but just being able to. I like the picture ones, obviously.
Sure, that's fine.
Again, the depth of what's really going on here. Just
Right.
like all these different controversies,
Sure.
right? Kind of coming together and being able to visually represent that. There was one, I remember, I did not like it.
Oh, that was my next question, was which to remove.
I remember that one. The one, I didn't say I don't like it. It wasn't as big of a hit. So, the one on being a good communist.
Okay, Lu Shaoqi.
Yes.
Right, how to be a good communist.
Yeah.
That one, I remember the name of it, tells you how much it hit. But the way in which it was written it read circularly. And I don't know if that was intentional in the writing.
He had designed it to be read by anyone. It was meant to be, even if you were barely literate, you could read the Chinese. It was very simple.
It runs as a native English speaker, and it just whoa. And so I'm not into political science.
Sure,
right.
right.
So me being that psychology major, I'm more like, oh yes, tell me these numbers, and give me standard deviations and means. I'll tell you what that means.
Right, yeah.
Not a novice, but so the difference in that is being able to read things that seem like political science.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it comes across as not flat, but flat. So I wasn't as intrigued by that one as the others. It was telling me things.
Right,
And
yeah.
I was like, why are you telling me things? As opposed to like, yeah, tell me a story. And I think it's just personal preference.
No, that makes sense.
Feeling valid.
Did either of you find a reading that wasn't particularly helpful, or that you would remove next time I teach the class?
Like the hardest thing for me was like accuse the.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was too long and
No,
it's
that-
hard.
Really
Yeah.
hard.
See- I'm sorry.
I think it's irony.
Accuse?
Irony?
Lu Xun?
Lu Xun sometimes write some books looks like very irony.
Yeah, ironic. Yeah,
Ironic.
yeah. That's the style. It's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one. Were you able to find a Korean translation?
No.
Oh no! Too bad.
I
thought
didn't
it was
like try because I
Oh, no.
thought that I should read in English.
Sure. Okay. No, that's good. No, that's a hard one. But I'm a big. I just love Lu Xun.
Yeah.
So I'm a big. I don't even even if everyone complained, I would still. We were keeping Lu Xun.
I liked it because it was ironic. I read it as like a satire, and I think that's why I kind of liked it.
I need to find it. I don't assign it for this one, but when I teach Modern East Asia over the summer, he has one called The Madman's Diary. We talked about, and it has a really good line where he says like, "The Zhao's dog looked at me funny," and it was great. Like the guy is so paranoid that he thinks the dogs are after him. But very good. So the other question. So how has this class changed how you think about China?
I don't know about China. So this added for me. This also being psychology. So it added a lot of context for why things happen. So initially, I didn't understand what was happening in Hong Kong because I couldn't get any sources where I could reliably make my own decision about it and see where I stand in anything. Mm-hmm. And so, I think moving forward, this has helped me understand why China does things based upon what circumstances they've been under over time. And that's what history is about. It's being historical, But the psychology of it is, so it's the intention of being able to predict behavior. So what will happen next moving forward?
Sure.
Right? And so by understanding what happened, centuries before, you could predict what will happen centuries in the future. Well, in a sense, nothing's to the T. It's like the weather, right? Meteorologists, we know they don't. Life happens, but it's about understanding why these things happen, what's the motivating factor, and being able to see where will it go in the future. I think that's a lot of what I got out of this.
Right.
I enjoyed it.
No, that makes sense. Excellent. Tianyu, I mean, you knew the most about China coming in, so I'm curious. You said you wanted a kind of Western perspective. Has it changed?
Yeah.
How you see the country, or?
Yes, I have changed a little opinion to China because in China, if you want to comment our great chairman Mao Zedong, sometimes you need to do very positive comments.
Sure.
But actually, when I come to America, come to the class, I think the class is fail.
Okay, thank you.
You can comment with some negative And you know, sometimes the model don't have do some really bad things,
Right,
and he will do the wrong things. But and another thing is that when I learned the Tiananmen Square movement, I can although I still can't accept the Hong Kong person
Right.
what they are doing, but sometimes I can understand them. Yeah, I think it's a big change for me.
Right. Okay. Oh, very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. You know, that's my hope as a historian, is by understanding each other's perspective, we can hopefully figure out a positive way forward. You know, we can have more compromise, more win-win kind of situations. So that's my hope. So I'm glad to hear that kind of response. And Dayee?
Yeah, I run two things. The first one is like my substance, like stance as a like to see the words and especially Korea versus Japan history, because before taking the class I was very anti-Japanese. Actually, no offense, but I was because I'm a lover of Korean history,
Sure,
and I've deeply learned about the Korean history, modern Korea history, when I was a high school and middle school student. But after taking the class with Tianyu and also other students, especially Tianyu, because some historical happenings or events are very sad for me too. But he was just objective, and he was calm during the class. Yeah, so I could learn about the my posture, how to understand the history and how to react to the other people, and I became more objective than subjective. And the second one is China, especially Ming, and through Ming dynasty, Qing dynasty, and the century of the humiliation, they could learn that what happens to weak countries, and they learned from the history, and they are trying to become better and stronger. And yeah, that's the thing I learned from this class.
So I wish we could have you join the modern Japan class, because I also teach the class on Japan, and over the summer I teach a modern East Asia, so I do China, Japan, Korea together. And I always find that kind of a painful class to teach, because it's this kind of, history of war and conflict among three countries that I really like. It's like watching brothers and sisters fight. It's very, very sad. But I'm glad to hear that. And it's been fun to have this group, especially for Modern East Asia, right? Because we had Eiko, Dayee, and Tianyu, right, to represent the three East Asian countries. Yeah. Very good. So, one other question that came to my mind that I could ask. So, let's say we have to. Let's say we have to take something out, because that's what I kind of struggle with. Is that at a larger university, this would be taught in 2 or 3 classes, right? The material I cover, and so I'm always want to add more, but adding more means taking something out. So if I was going to take something away, what would I take away? What was the section you were just like, what's the point of this?
No.
Carrie knows immediately where the part she wants to take away.
I don't.
Okay, that's fine.
That's strange, but oh God, there's just so much. I've gained so much knowledge.
Oh, very good. Well, and I can stay the course. I mean, I'm fine with that, but
because it's all kind of important. It all kind of leads up to.
That's the issue with history. Where do we begin? It's I like to begin with the Qing, but you have to talk about the Ming, because otherwise we have to emphasize how the Manchu were different, how having this non-Han dynasty mattered. Yeah. So I have to talk about the Ming, but if I just sort of well, here's the Ming, they got conquered, it doesn't give the Ming any credit.
Actually, in China, our modern China began at 1840. The Opium War, but I think because we have known the Ming, the former dynasty.
If normally a modern China class in the United States would also begin about that time.
Oh, really?
I push it back because I can't teach a separate class. If I could do, sometimes we call it. How do we divide it? I think a lot of times in the U.S. we have early empire. Later empires would be Ming or Song, Ming, and Qing, and then modern is late Qing to now.
Ah, yes.
That's usually how we divide it. But we.
But if you want
I
to
only have the one
understand
class.
more, yeah, I think Ming is
It's
essential.
yeah.
Yeah, and especially I'm a trade major, and like China is my like Korea's major trade relationship.
Right.
So we are affected by the United States and Chinese like trade wars.
Oh
so,
right. Yeah.
I wanted to know about them more, like Westerner perspectives and also like Chinese perspectives.
Right.
They are the like we are third parties, but you
Yeah.
are the like the people who are in interest relationships. So I'm just curious about that.
Oh, very good question. And I always see, and again, I struggle with that because I'm a historian, so it's still going on.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me, to think about it. There's an interesting historian. He's Scottish, and his name's Neil Ferguson, and he's this guy.
I do.
Yeah, me
We
too.
we watched. He's the guy that did the Ming clip
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
criticized him because I think he's wrong some of the time, but he's still interesting. But he talks about chimerica,
Chimerica.
Oh, yeah.
and to mean the close relationship between the United States and China. So he says chimerica. So it just that kind of concept, maybe, even though I think we have a kind of conflict, the conflict is based on the fact that we have a lot of contact with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's mostly profitable contact for both countries. So my guess is we'll eventually get it resolved.
Yeah.
It will just, we've gotten into trade fights with Canada before and Mexico as well, right? We get
Yeah.
in our history, yeah. So it's NAFTA, right? And then even before that, we got into struggles. So it's kind of normal if that makes sense. Anytime you have a close relationship, you're going to have a fight. If someone's a stranger, I don't care about what they think about me, right? But if it's my wife, or someone close to me, of course, we're going to have sometimes a conflict.
Yeah, it definitely affects like Korean dollar, like $1
Right, yeah.
currency rate,
Oh my gosh.
and also like it's a hard time for me. It was a hard time for me because it was like almost 1,200
Oh my.
won per dollar. Like the starting of the semester,
Oh
and
my
it
gosh.
affects my like scholar like the pay for the like
Tuition?
tuition.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Oh my gosh. No, I remember in 1997, right, the Asian economic crisis. So the won dropped in value by half.
Yeah.
And so all my Korean friends, I started university in 1996. So all my Korean friends were in terrible situation because they were in the United States and their tuition doubled.
Yeah.
So it was really, really awful.
Yeah.
But I got lucky when I went to Korea to study in 2008. The won went way down,
Yeah.
and we were paid in dollars. So eventually, the because it was Fulbright, and eventually they said we can't pay you in dollars anymore. We've run out of dollars, so we have to pay you in won.
Yeah.
But it was a very difficult situation. So it's that kind of currency fluctuation is very bad. So hopefully we'll get it straightened out before we're too long. Carrie, you want to jump in? You found that's that's fun. It makes my life easier if I don't have to change anything. Like I really revised this class a lot from when I last taught it.
I'm trying to think of something that was like getting, beaten into me, and I didn't feel that very often.
Oh, very good. I'm glad. Sometimes I felt like the economic history was doing that. I don't know, but then I wanted to include the economic history because we have so many business majors.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Like the art. So with me,
Okay.
again, me being like that psych kid, right? And there's so much art, but it explains so much.
Oh right, yeah.
And so you're at this crossroads. You're like, well, I'm gonna keep it. It helps explain a lot of things.
Right.
That's the stuff you remember in the end too.
Yeah.
Where you're like, wow, is there so much art?
Oh right. Oh yeah, and I love the. I have I like the East Asian art traditions. I think they resonate a lot with me. That's
Pictures to Draw Tears from Iron.
okay. You didn't like that?
I liked that
Oh,
one.
you liked it. Okay.
I just remembered that one. That one has a name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I really like that
famine.
one.
Great
Oh, yeah.
famine.
You
Yeah,
recall? Yes.
great
oh,
family.
Yeah, you-
So those
got
those
it.
early
Yes.
newspapers were those worth keeping because those I
Yes.
struggled with. I was not sure whether to keep them or not.
Really enjoyed those.
Okay.
It was just strange. My personality. Yeah. like
Sure.
that.
No. Sometimes that's kind of the
shocks you.
idea to get in there.
And the picture is graphic.
Pictorials. Graphic.
Oh yeah, the graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was one of
that.
the ones. Well, very good. Well, we've gotten to about, usually my understanding is we should keep these about 20 to 30 minutes. So, but I want to give you, do you all have the opportunity to say some last word? Do you have anything you want to say or about China or about the class or?
I think for me, it's just this was one that I really enjoyed. This was my fun class for the semester.
Oh, very good.
That's what a Dr. Rausch class usually is. It's the fun class.
Well, thank you.
So,
Even though it's a depressing, like, it's not. This is how my classes are like. I feel like they're depressing. Like I feel bad for the students because I'm like, and then this war happened. And then, no, okay, I'm glad to hear it was fun.
Knowledge is worth it, but
Well,
yeah, it's just.
At least I feel like with China that I can talk about the economic development. Like I think I can end on a happy note with that. Is to say, look, you had this. We had people who are having trouble struggling to survive. Now you have an increasingly modern, wealthy, prosperous people. So it can end on a good note. That's my hope. But Tianyu, any last final thoughts before we?
I just very enjoyed this class, and I think Dr. Rausch is a very respectful professor.
Oh, thank you.
Because the email also has a very long content, and he give us so many advice or information. So I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. There's too much stuff to get in one class. So I go back, I'm like, I'm writing really long. What's that? People are like, that's a long email. It's like, you haven't seen a long email.
But I enjoyed it.
Because you all read on phones. See, I have two screens. Very good. So Dayee, you get the last word.
Yeah, for the students who are like considering about taking this class or Dr. Roche's class, I would like to recommend these classes because if you try your best, you can get like good grades. Even if I took like 3 accounting classes this semester, I did well with this class.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right. Well, thank you all very much.
Welcome.
We'll finish up there. And listeners, let's thank Carrie, Tianyu, and Dayee.